Felicia Dubois, the Director of Events for the Children's Media Association. CMA is a nonprofit organization full of passionate makers, thinkers, and innovators who believe in learning and growing together, strengthening ourselves, our communities, and the media we create with children with informative events such as this one. When I had an idea to create a children's travel book series, my first thought was to self-publish, right? And then push to publishers for distribution and a publishing deal, like, for the books to come. And then when that didn't happen, when they weren't knocking at my door, plan B was to go the DIY route and use my own marketing background and my friends in the school system to market them on my own. I'm going to share more of my experience, but I am elated to have award-winning author and diversity publishing pro, Miss Crystal Swain-Bates, to share her knowledge on the self-publishing world and how she's been able to navigate it with so much success. Welcome, Crystal.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here. This is going to be fun.
Yes, I have a ton of questions, so I'm going to jump right in. Okay. So I had a chat with another children's author. His name is Pat Carmen, and he was the one who actually pushed me to self-publish. He was saying, I wrote, printed, and sold thousands of copies on my own, and then the publishing houses, literally Scholastic, Penguin, HarperCollins, all of them came knocking for him. So I wanted to ask you, what pushed you to self-publish?
I get that question a lot, and I've been self-publishing now since 2013. Am I dating myself?
Wow.
So that's
don't do the math, y'all. Don't do the math.
Let's do the math on that, but that's over a decade, right?
Yeah.
And so over a decade ago, there were not as many people self-publishing. There wasn't a lot of information on it. But what I did know was that when I went to the bookstore and I looked on the shelves, the books that I saw did not reflect the world that I live in. It did not reflect myself, my family, my friends, their kids, so that gave me all the information that I felt like I needed to know. I'm a person, literally, if I put my mind to it, my mama told me this, if I put my mind to something, then I can do it. So I said, I just want to just write my own books, and I don't want to get anyone's permission to do it. I don't want to get anyone's approval. I don't want to go asking and begging. And it's not to say that when you seek out a publishing deal that you're begging. I don't mean it in that way.
But it does feel that way. You're right. And especially when you get told no, it's like, I begged for nothing. Like, I get it.
I didn't want to go that route. I said, you know what? I'm pretty sure I can do this myself and probably do it better than what a publishing house would be able to do for me. And so that's what I did. I never even considered seeking out a traditional publishing deal.
So for me, like, I'm big on research, right? So when I was publishing or writing my kids' books, I was looking up little things like how many pages are in a kid's book in total, right? For those at the beginning of the self-publishing process, what would you suggest as step one?
So I tell every single person this, because you're right. People get so overwhelmed and consumed with all the little details. And I'm like, you don't even have a book yet. You haven't even written a word. Why are you worried about how are you going to find an illustrator? What size should the book be? You don't need to know those things. All you need to do first is write the book. So my suggestion would be, if you are watching this, you are interested in writing a book, and you just don't know all the details and you feel a little bit overwhelmed by what you don't know, don't worry about that part. It's literally a step-by-step process that you can pick up, but nothing can be done if you've never written a word. So just focus on writing your book, writing your story. Go to a bookstore, go online, order several children's books. In the same age level, right, that you're hoping to write for, and just read them. That's going to be your best research and your best first step.
I love that. So going the self-publishing route is good. I think too, not because like you don't have to, I love that you don't have to ask for permission. You do what you want to do. But also too, because it gets you in the weeds of it all, right? Like for me, I had a greater respect for the process and then admiration when I got that finished product, like that book that I was like turning the pages, having done it all myself. However, I did, hire freelancers and then I hired freelancers to step in like where I lack knowledge and or maybe the talent. So where do you believe authors should outsource? And then what parts of the process in self-publishing should the authors own completely?
So I definitely feel like you need to outsource anything that you just know you don't know how to do. All
Yeah.
right. So one, writing your book, writing your story, you can do that part yourself. If you are not a graphic designer, please don't be trying to design and illustrate your own characters.
Yeah.
Just because
Yeah.
Canva exists does not
Yeah.
mean that you need to be trying to use it for your book.
Very.
Don't try to do your own cover. Like these are the things, the packaging of the book, right? The packaging of the
Yeah.
book, I think, needs to be outsourced. You can write it, you're the brains behind it. But when
Mhm.
it comes to the illustration, when it comes to the formatting, the typesetting, all of that stuff, I think that stuff needs to be outsourced. When it comes to the marketing, I don't think that has to be outsourced. I definitely think authors can market themselves, but the packaging of the book, please hire a pro to do it.
Yeah, I love that you. I feel like I'm like, I published my first kids book about 2.5 years ago, but
Mhm.
everything you just now said, I did before having your amazing knowledge. I feel like I'm like on the right track. Like I had an illustrator, a copywriter, someone
Yes.
to package the book, and then marketing and writing I did myself.
Mhm.
So I'm on the
Exactly.
I'm on the
Oh,
right
you
path.
did great.
So time frame. I want to talk about like the length of such a project in writing your own
Mhm.
children's book. For me, it took me a few weeks just to finalize an illustrator, and then even longer to secure a production house overseas, because for me, I wanted my books to be that same quality
Mhm.
that's in Barnes and Noble. Like I needed that quality. Can you share the length and an average cost to self-publish?
Ooh. Hmm. So I would say, I don't know what it is about people, but they always want to publish around their birthday,
Oh,
right?
really?
So people will come to me and they'll say, "Oh, I want to get my book out and I would love to work with you." I'm like, "Okay, when are you trying to?" "Oh, my birthday's in the end of August. I want to have it." It's the end of July. That book ain't gonna happen. Like, so I think that people. So it's a great question because I think that people underestimate
Yeah.
the amount of time that it takes. Um, I would say, mm, I want to say 5 or 6 months
Okay.
would be
Yeah.
the time frame that I would suggest,
Yeah.
especially if you're planning like launches and things like that.
Yeah.
Because one, just like you said, it takes you time. One, you have to write the book, right?
Mhm.
And you
Mhm.
might be going back and forth, kind of nitpicking and making some edits, and you send it to an editor and then have some friends read it, right? That process might take you some time.
Yeah.
Then you need to secure an illustrator.
Mhm.
And I do test with illustrators. Like I like to see exactly which one I want to work with for that specific book. So I might have two people doing
Yeah.
some designs and I'll choose between those two. That takes some time.
Mhm.
Then I have a certain process that I use for working with my illustrators, and it might add just a little bit more time to
Mhm.
it. So by the time you're done with that, then you got to go into, all right, I need my, I want to look for, figure out the best book cover. Um,
Mhm.
see typeset. Like there's steps to the process. And
Yeah.
when you're working with freelancers, they have, their own schedules and no offense to a freelancer,
Yeah. Yeah.
but sometimes they underestimate the amount of time it's going to
Mhm.
take. So an
Mhm.
illustrator might say, "Oh, I'll have your stuff done in 3 weeks." No, you won't. You'll have it done in 8.
I love
Your
the realistic part of it. Like, no, you won't. No,
your
no, no.
thought is really 8. That's what you
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
Um, and I see so many people and they get so disappointed because they're like, "Oh, this book was for my son. I wanted it done by his birthday." Again, these birthday things. I wanted it done by his birthday. And
Yeah.
my illustrator, and they literally they had just the amount of time that the illustrator said. And I'm like, "You never should have." That's
Yeah.
that's poor planning.
Yeah.
You really want to overestimate. So, and then it also depends on how experienced you are with the process. You know
Mhm.
how it is, like the first time you do a thing, you're still learning, you've never done it before, it's going to take
Yeah.
longer. But the more you do, the faster it can be done. So I've done a book in, I think I finished that book in less than 2 months
Mhm. Mhm.
because I had to. It was for a show and I don't know, I had a deadline. So I
Yeah.
was like, I can get this done in 2 months.
Yeah.
But guess what? I actually paid two illustrators to do it. I'm talking about paid the whole price
Mhm.
for the
Mhm.
illustrators
Mhm.
because one, she was missing the deadlines, and I was like, I have a date, the
Yeah.
TV show. I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So I got a second illustrator, and the second one finished faster. So this
Wow.
is, I can do a video on this because that means that I have this book like in two versions. I just never published, I only published one version, but I
Yeah.
had to,
Yeah.
yeah, a
I
waste,
love
but I had to get it done. So yeah, I definitely say overestimate. And then if you have a little bit of extra time left, that gives you time that you can plan out your launch,
it.
that most people skip. So now your book is done.
Hmm.
But now you're able to build your launch team, get people to read it, send out copies for people to read. Most people don't have time to do any of that stuff because they plant their launch party for uh, the day that the book is released, essentially.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then as far as cost, like what is like a roundabout first book, not skimming any corners, a good product is not falling up. These are kids' books. So they're pulling and ripping and all that. Like what is good quality books? Like what is
That's so hard. It's so hard to answer this type of question because everybody's different, right? But I'll say this. If you're on a shoestring publishing budget, I would say you can get this process done for maybe $2,500, $3,000.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I would say that I would suggest that a person have double that, at least, right? So $6,000 or so, $6,000, $7,500 to have more options in terms of the illustrators that they use, maybe a higher quality.
Yeah.
You'll be able to outsource more stuff. The lower you go on that budget, the more stuff you're going to be having to figure out yourself how to do it, on your own. You're going to have to choose illustrators who may be less experienced.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give that range, but I feel like a safe bet is to say, if you don't have at least $5,000, just save up a little bit, just save a little
save
something.
up, and then come back to it, right? You don't want to put out poor quality stuff. I love it. I have a part 2 to my question, but I want to go to the comments. Nia Joey asked, can you please say more about running tests with illustrators? And I just want to give like my experience with it. And because I feel like I'm on par with like what you've been saying. So for me, I went to Upwork and I went through, I just typed in children's book illustrators, a million pop up over like 50 pages. And like, rather than go through each, I would filter it, like who had the best reviews or who was maybe in my price point. And then if you go in Upwork, it shows you like the work that they've done before. Oh, okay, this is kind of like on like visual. This is kind of like where I'm going. And so I reached out to maybe about 7 illustrators of all races, whatever. I reached out to all of them and I had a picture of my daughter and that was the inspiration. And so I said, can you send me a test? Like what would this real life little girl look like in cartoon form if you draw it? So I sent it to them and some of the ones I got back were horrid. And so, some of them, and what's crazy is some people wanted money to do it. And I was totally fine with that. Like they wanted like $40 or something like that. And the ones who would do it for free, I would tell them, hey, you can put your watermark on it just so that I'm not going to steal your work and go to someone else. And then in that process, again, maybe it took me like 2 to 3 weeks. And I found the most amazing illustrator from Ukraine. And like, she's been with me on book 1, 2, and now book 3. And then I want you to answer Nia's question as well. But I also wanted to add, when you were talking about time frames, right? If you've done this book before, you kind of know, okay, it takes me about 3, 4, 5 months. When I was working with my same illustrator, and that's when Ukraine was going through the war and the bombings and all of that. And there was what would have a book that would have took me 4 months took me almost 8 to 9 months because I couldn't find her. She wasn't replying to me. And when I finally got with her, she would tell me that, she had to run from home and she would be back and she would try to find Wi-Fi. Like it was the craziest experience. And like, those are things you have to plan for. So a book that I wanted out at a certain time, I didn't want to give the work to someone else, because I knew she would need the money. So just things like that. I had no idea that would happen, Yes, I digress. Again, Nia asked, can you please say more about running tests with illustrators?
Yes, no, I mean, I think what you described is perfect. I'll add to that. So when I work with illustrators and I do tests, first, they're always paid. I don't ever have anybody do a free thing. I feel like a free thing is never like a true example of somebody's work, because because they're not incentivized, right?
Mm-hmm.
I also don't really tell them it's a test.
Mm-hmm.
So I will submit the project, and let's just say the project is, I don't know, a $3,000 project, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just throw a number out there, a $3,000 project. And then got my handy calculator here. So a $3,000 project, and maybe I need 16 illustrations, 2-page spread. So that's $107, $187 each. Let me not do it that high because that's gonna make people like, "Oh my lord!" $30,000. Let's do 32 illustrations. All right. So that's $93 each. So I would say I would pick out the person or the persons that I'm interested in doing the test, and I would select them for the job. So now they see it's a $3,000 project that they've been selected for.
Mm.
And I'll say, okay, I want to start out with the first milestone to make sure we work well together, make
Mm.
sure we're on the same page.
I
So
love
that,
those upward milestones.
yes, milestones. So that would be $93 based on the numbers that I gave, right? It
Okay.
would be cheaper if maybe your budget is $2,000. It'll be cheaper,
Yeah.
right? So I would pay them $93 and then they would do the work. And I might have 3 different people do it. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm out $300 based on this example, but now I've had 3 people do it, and I would much rather be out of some test money than
Mm-hmm.
out of my whole budget because I have, put my trust and my faith into this person and they
Yeah.
don't really deliver. And I
Yeah.
think that a test gives you a lot of really good examples. Like I had a person, hopefully she's not watching. I had a person, it was an illustrator, and I was like, oh, her work is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I sent her, like, we did this same process.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, yeah, I'll get the illustration, the first one back in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
It was like 3 weeks later. I can't
Oh.
work with you. I
Yeah.
can't work with you because if you can't even do one and you're being paid and it took you 3 weeks and you didn't say it would take you 3, no updates, no anything. I don't
Yeah.
like to chase a person down,
Mhm.
So yes, so for the test, I'm testing them not only on their illustration skills, but also on how well do they pay attention to the detail that I provided in my briefing.
Mhm.
How well do they communicate? And are they actually living up to what they say? Because if you can't even do right on a test, I
Yeah.
can't.
I can't.
First
Yeah.
impression, like, come on.
Driadana. What were you saying?
I was just gonna say, when you're
Yeah.
on Upwork and you're testing illustrators,
Yeah.
y'all, you can take that illustrator's name. I'm so silly because I was like, don't always trust their portfolio. I'm talking to you like
Yeah.
I'm talking to a friend. Don't always trust their portfolio.
Yeah.
I will take their name and I
Mhm.
will go to Amazon and I'll paste their name there. And any
Mhm.
book, because any book that they've been listed on as illustrator is going to pop up. Now
Oh.
that's the secret sauce. Now I get to see your work for real. And if I want, I can even
Oh.
order the book so I can really see what your illustrations.
Yeah.
So they say don't trust people's resumes these days. I'm gonna say don't trust portfolios either. Unfortunately.
Oh, I gotta write that down. I
Oh,
never even thought about that because I was going off of what they uploaded to Upwork, but of course they're gonna put the best of the best right there. But it makes perfect sense. I love that. Love that.
yes.
Driadana, hi Driadana. She had asked, you answered her question about illustrator rates and like how much you would pay per illustration. She also asked how many pages are in your kids' books on average, or do you have some that are like less or?
Yeah. So I would say for the most part, my books are 32 pages. All right.
Mhm.
Give or take 2 pages, right? So funny story. So Big Hair Don't Care is my best-selling book. That book had more pages to it, but the
Oh wow.
illustrator was taking forever, and I needed them for an event I was vending at that I spent
Mhm.
a lot of money to vend
Yeah.
at. And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I need these books."
Yeah.
So I had to kind of cut off. Cut it off. So that book is 30 pages. So that's not really standard. Standard is 32.
Yes.
No one has ever really, no one's really said anything. I think I saw one review. It was like, it's kind of short. And I was like, it is. It's missing a spread. It's missing
Yeah. I love that. Oh, we gotta go for like a special edition.
right. Yeah, like what do you do? So still my bestseller. Okay.
Yeah,
30
it still
pages.
worked
All
out.
right.
It still
It
worked
worked out. But yes, so then I have other ones that maybe are like 36 pages. So for the
out.
most part, my children's books range outside of Big Care Don't Care and Anomaly, but they range between 30 pages and about 36 pages. And then my coloring books, I do those around 44 pages or so.
Okay. So part two to my question about like time frame and all that good stuff. Can
Mhm.
you share more on your Power Author program as part of that like creating self-publishing process?
Oh yes, yes, yes. So I have a lot of programs. I'm just going to speak.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna like mention a few of them in here, but that's the first one.
Just like in general, I think it'll be a little easier because I switch up my little stuff depending on how I feel.
Yeah.
Okay. So essentially, how do I work with people? How do I work with authors is the question?
Oh well, your Power Author program, like how does that process work? Like with like time frame, like if they come in as part of your Power Author program, like what do they do, and what does your program do?
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So basically, when a person comes in, they will have their book written. All right. So
Mhm.
they come in, they've written the book. But see, I feel like most people who are creatives, like
Mhm.
that's where they kind of stop. Like, okay, you wrote it, but all the rest of it is the hard part.
Yeah.
So um literally all I would need is your manuscript and then find the illustrator. All the stuff that we're talking about now
Yeah.
is the stuff that I would do. Find
Okay.
the test illustrator, show you, hey, what do you think about these two? This is from illustrator A, illustrator B. Which one do you like? What do you want to change? So it's kind of like every single thing that we've discussed is being done for you. So you don't have to be the one on Upwork looking for people,
Yeah.
doing tests, trying to see if you can trust them, setting up the prices, all of that
Yeah.
jazz. Um, and it takes 5 months.
Okay.
So yeah, but
Good.
one of the things like with me, what I've discovered after working with a lot of illustrators is that people don't, or a lot of authors, is that people don't publish just one book.
Mm-hmm.
I always says like, what's the potato chip company? Once you pop, you can't stop.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like it is empowering for a person to learn how to do the process themselves. And that's something that you mentioned at the very beginning is that
Mhm.
because you did it yourself, it really helped you see like every single step, everything that is involved. And so I also work with authors who just want to learn those steps, if you know
Mhm.
what I mean. So I do like a children's book boot camp where it's just me. We'll get on calls and we're just walking through the steps. And then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, your homework now is to go
Yes.
with these test jobs. Then we get back on the next call as a group,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, let me see the sample illustrations they gave. And then they're
Yeah.
like, oh, and they show me, they screen share. So when you do that process, I feel like it empowers you to be able to do as many books as you want in the future and
Mm.
without having to worry about paying like a middleman. So
I love that. We got to do a CMA in you book children's book boot camp. I love that. And walking through the process.
it's fun. And
Yeah.
some of the people who came out of it, they're doing so well. And they always say, I did Crystal's first, like they did my first. I did her first boot camp. And
Wow.
they're really doing well. And I just like it because you just have the guidance. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's so many steps in the process. You just don't know if you're doing it the right way. And you're spending money. You're spending your hard-earned money. So you don't want to get scammed. You don't
Yeah.
want to make any expensive mistakes.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. I've made expensive mistakes and embarrassing mistakes before. I was like, I don't wish this on anybody else.
Let me show y'all how to do it. And
Yeah.
that's a perfect segue to my next question when I talk about like resources, because Google and Chat GPT, right? They can tell you how to self-publish in just seconds, but the
Right.
how doesn't compare to having someone like you share the real world experience, give us the
Yeah.
resources that have been vetted.
Right.
Do you have a list of copywriters? You kind of mentioned this in the previous answer, but do you have a list of copywriters, suggested illustrators, production houses that you share with aspiring authors, not through the Power Author program, but
Yeah.
through your publishing company, Goldest Carrot Publishing?
So I did have a list. I called it Crystal's Little Black Book. So cute.
Okay.
Illustrators. And I mean, I guess I could still share it, but it's a little dated now because
Okay.
what happened was I have a fairly decent sized audience of aspiring authors.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I kind of shocked the system, if you will, the illustrator system when I gave them this list, because then you had, let's say there were 8 illustrators on the list, and you got all these
All
people
these people. Yeah,
picking them
yeah.
up. And then the illustrators either got overwhelmed, started
Mm,
messing up, stopped
mm,
illustrating, or increased their prices. So I was like, maybe I shouldn't
maybe.
do this
Yeah.
again. But if you are looking for good illustrators, I will say this. Um, Inside of author Facebook groups,
Hmm.
I have one called Six Figure Self Publishing Secrets with Crystal Swain-Bates. All you have to do is type in illustrator, and a lot of people will share their illustrators. So if you're looking for a person or an editor or a typesetter, a lot of these groups you can just search. And I would always look for the person who is sharing like their testimonial of working with someone or
Mm,
shouting out someone, not so much the illustrator themselves. It's like, hey, I do these books, you know. So look in the groups and try to find people who work with other folks. And
yeah.
that's really the best piece of advice, because yeah, I tried the whole here's my list and it didn't quite
It
work.
didn't. It just threw everything off.
Blew those up.
I have a question from a LinkedIn, someone who's watching over on LinkedIn, and this kind of goes to what we were talking about with freelancers. They
Mhm.
ask, "Is there a market for designers that only focus on the layout of a book?" It's yeah, right. Absolutely. That's I hired one.
I literally have full-time people
Yeah,
that do the layout for
it's
me.
the
So
layout. Yeah.
yeah, there's definitely a market for that,
Okay.
especially if you can do like right now.
Hmm.
Um, I got somebody working on a project right now, because I do a lot of different types of books. But right now I'm focusing a lot on like, so this is not even a children's book, but I'm focusing a lot on workbooks. But this is for
Hmm.
the person that's asking the question.
Yeah.
And I make amazing workbooks for people, like turning their books into a workbook, like an
Mm,
authority book into a workbook.
yeah.
Um, and I needed somebody who would be able to, I have like a more modern
Mhm.
style that I prefer. And usually when I look at workbooks, they look so old, like just, I don't know, the styling doesn't look
Yeah.
modern to me. And so I have found 2 people, one of which was full time with me, um,
Mm,
that would do that was her only job, layout,
wow.
layout, layout, layout. That's it. Because I can't do it. I'm not about to learn InDesign. That's what we use. I'm not learning InDesign
Yeah.
um, at all. So yes, and
You
especially,
need someone who can geek out over, like the commenter just said, like she geeks out over layouts. Like that's what we want. We want
yeah,
that person.
and it works for so many different books. So you can specialize in different types of books. It could be you do children's book layouts,
Mm,
but maybe you also do other types of things. People always need people that can do like magazine layouts.
mm.
You could do catalog layouts. Like there's a lot of different things that you could do, but the answer is yes. People need that for sure.
Gotcha. So part two to my question was, what is your publishing company's like process in bringing new authors into your publishing house? I know you mentioned like having their manuscript done, but are there other requirements? And then how can they pitch them? Like, what's the best way to pitch, their manuscript and themselves to you?
Okay, so I run a publishing agency. I don't run a publishing company. The publishing company is for me and my books.
Ah,
So
okay.
I have taken on,
Gotcha. Thanks for clarifying that. Okay, because you're
I
about
have
to
taken on
get.
people, but I don't do it anymore.
Uh-huh.
So now when people work with me, there are essentially 2 ways. So one of them is it's agency based. So if y'all are watching, you're like, what in the world is the difference between a, publishing company, publishing agency? What is he talking about? Publishing agency is like, you're hiring, it's like a service. So like a service provider, you're hiring my company to do the work for you. You write the book, we bring it to life, right? And you get the files and you own everything. We don't collect any royalties. Whereas if you work with the publishing company, they might get whatever the royalty, you might make 15% royalty, they get the rest, right?
Mhm,
Um, and then so there's that way. And then there's the other path, which is more of the DIY, the done with you, right?
mhm,
Where
mhm.
I teach you the process. So that's kind of my preferred method at this point, is
Okay.
teaching you, because a lot of my clients now have 12, 15, 20, 30 books.
Wow.
They wouldn't have been
Wow.
able, they couldn't have done it if they had to pay my company, right?
Mhm,
Every single time to create their book.
mm.
But because I've taught the process, how to find the best illustrators at the cheapest rates, and they're able to do it. So that's the difference. So yeah, there's no pitching anymore.
Gotcha. Okay. Good to know. But I
I
love
teach
how
you
you
to do
said, like, I want to teach you, and then you go out and do it yourself.
it.
So I'm
Yeah,
not taking all your coins. Like, you
exactly.
have this knowledge, now you go forth and be
Yeah,
great.
yep,
I love that. I
exactly.
love that. That's
So,
why you're so successful, because Ashley Flores. This will basically my next question is going to answer Ashley's question, because she was asking about like launch plan process and all that good stuff. I wanted
mhm.
to get into marketing, because I feel like making the book is the easy part. Getting your book into the world and turning a profit is a whole other process.
It is.
I personally found success in reaching out to libraries to do readings and then selling my books to the parents afterwards,
Mhm.
independent bookstores, reaching out to them, because that's easier than trying to get into Barnes and Noble. And
Yeah.
I really hit marketing gold by reaching out to all my high school friends, because where I'm from, everyone, thank God, is now a teacher, elementary school teacher or principal. And so I reached out to them. They'd have me come to the school, and like they would, one of my friends, she bought books for every student in her school, over 500 students, and she paid retail price, $18. Like, I will love her for life. Like, so that is where I hit marketing gold. For you, can you share a starting point for authors in like the launch
Mhm.
process and getting their book into the world, for those who have, little budget, no budget, friends who work in schools who don't?
Yes, absolutely. So I love what you just shared is amazing, and congratulations to you for
Ooh,
that.
yeah.
On my end, I had two primary ways um, that led me to success. So one of them was vending. One of them was vending.
Mhm.
So vending meaning I'm paying to have a table at an event.
Mhm.
Um, I'm setting up my books there, setting up my display, and then I'm sitting there hoping, somebody that actually works, or at least it worked for me, right? So
Yeah.
the secret is
Mhm.
you have to choose events where your ideal avatar is. Like the person who would be more likely to buy your book, you have to go to those events. And
Mhm.
for some reason, authors don't tend to go to those events. Authors go to author events, like book
Mhm.
expos and book fair. I'm not
That
about to
makes sense. That
80
makes
other
sense, because it's
authors.
all authors.
No.
Makes sense.
So you have to go to events. So, like, for example, Big Hair Don't Care. I mean, well, I have this audience fits all my books, but
Mhm.
what was it? The World Natural Hair Show. It's a big event that was taking place
Mm.
twice a year in Atlanta. Okay, the natural hair movement was big, and it was this huge event, huge with so much traffic. Okay, so that was the event that I did twice a year for I can't even tell you how many years, up until COVID, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
I did it all these years in a row, probably 6 years in a row. And when I tell you the way I made my money back every single time, and I started out because people are like, oh, vending's expensive. It is. But
Mhm.
you can ask them if they have cheaper, if they have a section or options for new businesses, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Time
mhm.
they had a small section for like emerging artists or something like that. And it was
Yeah,
$300. Oh, I can sell $300 books, right? So
yeah, yeah.
$300, I did that for the first maybe 2 years. And you
Mhm.
tiny 5x5 or so table, 5 foot table. Then I was like, okay, I'm good now. I got some monies.
Yeah.
I could do the 10 foot. And that's when it hit, the $1,400, $1,500 price. But
Mm,
it was for a 2-day event with thousands of attendees. And as
mhm,
long as you know your average order value, right, your AOV, and you can increase it, which I'll talk about, you can increase that. I was able to make my money back. Now, mind
mhm,
you, at this point, I have like 16 children's books, but when I started out, I started vending with two or three.
mhm,
So, or three, the $300 tables. And I didn't just come with my books. I came with other things. So this is part of the marketing. So I didn't just do books. I started creating merchandise
mm,
using print on demand companies. So I wasn't spending too much, but the parents were asking me, do you have t-shirts? Do you have this? Do you have that? So I just started making little things, and a lot of it was cheap. but it
Yeah.
was cute when it was made. So maybe this cost me 50 cents to make, but I can sell it for $2 and then people buy a lot
Mm.
because it's cheap. So that increased the amount of money that they would spend with me. And the more books you have, so I'm a big fan of, I told you a lot of my students and clients have 12, 20 books.
Yeah.
I'm the person that's like, publish a lot of books because then you can sell them as a bundle. So instead of you making
Mm.
selling one book and getting whatever $15 for it, you can sell 3. And now you've gotten, a lot more for that. And I've had people come over and I'll be like, oh, you can get the bundle of 6 books for, you know, $90 or whatever the price is. And I'll take those. I'll pick out my 6.
Wow.
Make it easy for people to spend money with you. If you only have a price for one, they're just going to look and maybe get 1 or 2. But if they see, oh, I can get 6 books for $90 and it includes this cute magnet and this free poster, I want to get this for my grandbaby.
Mm.
So that's been a part of my marketing, is having
Yeah.
not just the books, but also having products that people can find and people can purchase. And then the third piece is influencers. I did a lot of influencer marketing. When I say I don't even mean I. Shout out to my mama.
Yeah.
My mama did this for me. So she went on YouTube, researched people. At that time, she was looking for like people that had like little girls with like big old hair, kind of like my
Mhm.
characters, right?
Mhm.
Reached out. Oh, my daughter has written these children's books. She's so proud. These children's books to uplift Black children, and
Yeah.
we want to send you a set, in exchange for your honest review. So that's my script. Y'all hear my script? That's it. In exchange for your honest review. No mention of payment. All right, no mention of payment. Now we were reaching out for the most part to like nano influencers, like
Mhm. Mhm.
not people with 500,000
Yeah.
followers.
Yeah.
They got newer channels. They're excited to get some stuff for free. Maybe they got 1,000 followers, or less, but it's engaged followers. And so that got me traffic that lives forever.
Mm.
So, meaning if you were to go on YouTube right now, you start typing in like Black children's books, you're going to pop some videos with people reviewing and talking about my books will pop up.
Yeah.
So, I leveraged opportunities that would last longer.
Mm.
Than like, let's say a Twitter post or a tweet, or I don't know, it's I don't know what you say now.
Yeah.
Facebook post,
Yeah.
the things that you posted is gone forever. You
Mhm.
never got it again. So when it comes to marketing, I'm a big fan of using tools that you can go into and search, so that you do it once and then people can find that video forever.
Yeah.
So those
I
are the
love
things.
I love that you meant like so much insight. Like I'm trying to like digest it all and like still keep ask my questions. But because I got an opportunity, I had someone reached out for me to vend at the LA Children's Book, and like the fee was like $500, and I was like, But I love what you're saying. If I bundle, or if
Yeah.
I sell my kids the ABCs of Travel flashcards that I have,
Yeah.
like I can offset the cost. Like someone had
Yeah.
reached out and said, do I make baby like little dolls because their kid wants to take one traveling? So like so much insight. Like I love it.
Yes.
And I love how you mentioned working with like the micro influencers, and you said how
Mhm.
they're more engaged. Like the ones who have 1,000, 5,000, like they are so much more engaged and free often than those
Yes.
with 500,000 followers. And I'm a former fashion PR director, and that works in fashion too. I
Yes.
never paid those big girls because it's like they don't talk to the people in the comments. Like so I love that you mentioned that, because it's the same in this world too.
Exactly. And I just wrote something down for you. I feel like I'm on a coaching call, because I'm like, let me tell you this. So for your if you decide to do merch, definitely do passport covers. Because like books are for travel. Passport covers. I know you said you have cards, and then I don't know if you have an activity book already. Do you?
I started working on one, but I haven't finished it. But
I highly.
And you know why I thought of that? Like my dream is to get like a partnership with like an airline, because when you walk on United Airlines, they give kids these activity packs, and it's like little mazes. It comes like 3 crayons, and like that's like. And the one that United has now is with Sesame Street. So I'm like, listen, I'm a wheeze on it. That is my dreams. Like that's what I've been working on, like an activity pack. That's compact.
Yep. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It can literally just be the book itself, the activity book. Then if you get some partnerships or whatever, then you can y'all figure out how to bundle it with some crayons or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But yes. Yeah.
I feel like it's one-on-one. I'm sorry y'all watching. I'm like getting all this knowledge from myself. Okay. My next question. Your author success society.
Yeah.
At what point does an author need the author success society? And then what all does it offer?
Oh, that's a great question. So this is, I love, I should have told some people to come on. I should have gave them a link. Okay. So Author Success Society, if you can't tell, this is like my baby, like my program that I just love. So basically it is my mentorship program where it has courses, coaching calls, all as a group. And when a person should join would be, so initially I was thinking, oh man, once you publish your book, you should join. But guess what? I had people join who were like, I joined now because I've already written my book, but I didn't want to mess anything up. So I wanted to make sure that I got the guidance before I released the book. Most of the people who joined, like literally 98% of the people who joined, had previously worked with me and done like a free children's book challenge, my children's book boot camp. So they had already worked with me as a group, right? Whether free or paid, to learn how to do their book the right way, right? So I felt confident that they knew what they were doing. But in this program, there are about 40 plus courses, workshops, right? And I mean, it's things like, we're doing a lot. So right now I'm teaching them a lot of different ways you can use like AI for marketing your children's books or as an assistant. We've done things on copywriting, trademarking. I bring in experts. So we've had expert, my own personal trademark person has come in to explain how do you know when you can trademark, what you can trademark, how do you do it, all of that stuff. Tax people, because you're selling books, you actually know what you're doing when it comes to the money that comes in. Actually, like a lot of different people. Then book marketing, how to influencer stuff, literally anything that I could possibly think of. How to turn your stuff into animations, like if you want to create a YouTube channel. How to make. We've got people making soundtracks out of their books. It's just a lot of stuff. So a lot of different courses, and then we do coaching calls. I teach the classes, and I do a Q&A. So everybody gets to get their questions answered. And what I'll say about it is, if you're not already in some sort of an author community, I definitely encourage you to find one, because with me, I'm my only author friend. Like, I don't have any friends who write books, like, where they do this and they do it like full time. So I didn't really have anybody that I could ask questions to or anything like that. And at this point, these people are friends, right? Because they've been in this thing with me for like 3 years. So they will do meetups in their cities. They'll vent together. We share opportunities. So yeah, if you don't have that circle, I definitely encourage you to find one and get one. But I love my circle of people, Author Success Society. And it's just really fun. And I think for me, seeing people's growth is phenomenal, because the same way we're talking now, and we just talked about your activity book. Okay, I give you some feedback and some advice. And then the following month, you've done it. And now you're showing it. And everybody's like, oh, I'm about to buy that. Like, it's just a nice feeling to have support from people who understand the struggles of authorship.
So Maria, she asked, do you use something besides Amazon KDP for printing? And then any tips on test prints of the book?
Oh, okay, good question. So I do, and it just depends on what I'm doing, what I'm printing for. So if I get a bulk order, like let's say I get a bulk order of 1,000 books for whatever, I'm not using Amazon for that. I'm using a printer. So I have a printer company that I've worked with in Michigan on quite a few things. I also have a printing company in Atlanta that I work with on certain things. So for me, it just depends on the order type. A bulk order, selling to another business, right? So a B2B order, business, that I'm going to most likely do like offset printing. If it's B2C, business to consumer, I'm selling 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 books. You're going to, get that on Amazon. You can't even buy that through me, because I'm not about to just ship. I used to for a brief amount of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can go on Amazon and get that. Um, I'm trying to think of where else I print. I actually have not done any overseas printing before,
Mm.
but some of my students have.
Yeah.
And they found their printers that they love and they get their shipments in, for things. But yes, I do use printers outside of Amazon, depending on who I'm shipping to, how many books I need. And then when it comes to test runs, yeah, I mean, it depends on the book and
Mhm.
it depends on how much time I have. So I would suggest if it's your first time working with the company, do get a proof. I always suggest a proof. It's going
Yeah.
to be pretty expensive. It'll probably be like $150 or $200 to just get that one like proof. Digital proofs are like free, but yeah. I would encourage you to get it if it's a more complex book. For my coloring books, I don't do all that because the coloring books are
Mhm.
different. They're not full bleed in terms of color. The when I'm opening it up and looking in the gutter section, I don't have to like see if there's a white gap. It's just different with coloring books. So those I don't need a test run. But with the children's books, if it's my first time working with somebody, I do like to get one. But sometimes you just take that risk. Sometimes
With
sometimes you
me,
brave and bold and just go for it.
with me, I found my printer overseas, and so
Okay.
they sent me the proof. And because they knew I let them know, like, truthfully, I'm looking at different companies to print this book, and so
Mhm.
to get my business for my 1,000 book order, they sent me the proof for free, and I love that I did that, or they offered
Mhm.
that, because when I opened it, I was able to see, like, one of them, the spine wasn't as strong, and like I could see
Mm.
like
Mhm.
like what, I don't even know what it's called, like the white part, that like ribbing, whatever it is. I could see
Mhm.
that in one of the books. I
Yeah.
was like, nope, I'm gonna go with this person. I'm glad, that proof
Yeah.
is big, because if I would have got those books in, I would have been mad that I didn't
Yeah.
get a proof.
Yeah. You have to be careful.
Yeah, I love what you said. Just going back really quickly to what you said earlier, when you were saying how, like, you've just always been, if I think it, I can do it. I don't want to ask for permission. I'm just gonna do what I want to do. And with
Mhm.
me, like, when I had reached out, there was after I printed my books, and when I went to Barnes and Noble to get them in their stores, they were saying, hey, we only work with these distributors. Like, if you can get your book with these 5 companies, then we
Mhm.
can put you in our stores. And
Yeah.
so I had to go to this middleman. And the middleman, I had a few meetings, and this one middleman, I won't mention anything else, but he told me that the market isn't looking for children's books. And I was like, what? Well, Barnes and Noble, and they like, wait, what? And while I respect whatever his experience may have been, I honestly feel like he was out of touch because of his age, and or he was just blowing smoke. But I was just like, wait. And especially because I homeschool my daughter, and we're in an, like, where homeschool is huge now. People are
Yeah.
traveling the world more than
Yeah.
ever. And he told me that the market isn't looking for kids. And I said, bye. Thank you. Bye. But I love, like, I
Yeah.
didn't let that deter me. I'm just gonna keep chugging on. And I'm not in Barnes and Noble, but we're gonna keep moving. And
Yes.
I don't have, like, let's just say if he was, if he worked at like Penguin Random House or whatever, and he would be my no, and I would, I feel like I was begging, and he's like, yeah, no, we're not in the market for it. And I was like, bye.
Yes.
It's wild that was his response, but I digress. My next question.
No, I mean, and I'm literally I'm just laughing because I'm like, I don't want to be too real on here, but yes, I'll just you have to have trust in yourself
Mhm.
that what you have decided to publish, what you have decided is important to you and that you want to put out into the world
Yeah.
is something that people will buy. There is a niche for literally everything. There's a niche that you could be writing. I'm a person that writes books for horse lovers. All her books are like have horses on them, and horse stories for like teenagers or something. Like, there's something for every single person. And I the books that I have published, people would have told me, if I had tried to seek permission, they would have told me,
Yeah.
oh, nobody's buying that. There's no market for that. There,
Oh,
whatever.
that trend is over. No,
Yeah, like, because I don't write stuff based on trends. I'm
yeah.
writing things that I feel like kids need to have access to. So yeah. I again, that's why I just do my own stuff, because I don't have time for somebody to try to tell me you're not even in my target audience. How do you know?
Exactly. I love that you just said that. Like, you're not even my target audience. So that could be the reason why you're telling me no, because you don't even, you don't look like me. So you don't understand the need.
No understanding at all.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. So this kind of goes into my next question. I feel like your answer is going to be no, but is the end goal, in your opinion, to eventually get signed by a major publishing house that they can do like the heavy lifting and get your books into all the bookstores? Or do you feel like we can truly do it ourselves, from the writing, publishing to distribution, and still reach that same success?
I think the answer just depends on who you are as a person.
Okay.
Because there are some people who literally all they want is to be able to say, I got a book deal and my book is in Barnes and Noble. They don't care if they made $0 off of it. They just want to be able to say that. That's not me. All right. I want to be able to say my books are in the homes of hundreds of thousands of people. They're reaching the children that I created them for. So I'm more of an impact person over vanity.
Yeah.
And my books are in bookstores, but I'm not too pressed about it being in a specific bookstore. So I definitely feel like previously people were told, oh, if you can't have success unless you have a traditional deal, etc. That's not the case anymore. And that's why you see a lot of people who have books out that their books are turned into movies and everything, and they are still self-published because they know they maintain the control of every single thing. They maintain control. I'll give you a very quick example. What's the TV show? So I've met a prop master when I was out there vending out in the sun, all hot. A prop master came over. I didn't know they were prop master. And this is why you got to get out the house and vend, right? Was looking for books. And she looks at one of my books and she's like, oh, I like this book. There's a show that I think this would be great on. Do you know how to get in touch with the publisher? And I was like, I'm the publisher. And so she's like, if I sent you a release form, would you be able to, and she bought the book, would you be able to sign it so we can get it? Because she urgently needed a book for the show. I was like, absolutely, I can do it today.
Yeah.
Turns out there was a book that they had wanted just in the background on the show. And they couldn't, the publisher never replied to them to send the release. Okay.
Wow.
The show was Being Mary Jane with Gabrielle Union. No. Well, I've been on that show too, same prop master. This one was The Game. Tasha Mack.
Oh, I love that show. What?
You watch The Game, right? Tasha Mack, she's laying in bed and she's like pregnant and she's holding up a children's book. When I tell you this is the best shot of my book of all time on TV, she's holding up this book right here, Naturally Me.
Yeah.
She's reading and she's laughing. That was because I own all my rights and I don't have to call the publisher and say, hey, there's an opportunity. Do you mind? And they try to get their lawyers on. No, I'm the everyone. So go through me. I sign it. So so that's another example of just having the full control over everything. You can move faster.
You just answered question number 13, which was, when you sign, like, do you give up control? And you do.
Because to a certain extent, yeah. Even like the way your cover looks, the way your characters look, the names that you give your characters, they have full control over all that stuff. The illustrators that you choose, they might choose the illustrator. I had a certain way I wanted my characters to look. Somebody's like, you design your characters based on yourself. They got these big old lips. I was like, that's what I wanted, because I got lips in the nose, and I want my characters to have lips in the nose and not these little.
I love that.
These little nose, like, no.
Wait, did you say like the little triangle?
A little triangle. I don't want that.
My daughter is into the David books, David books, and it's like a triangle. So it made me think of that book. Love it. Yeah. So I want to end our conversation just talking about some misconceptions and some not as crazy. We have 7 minutes left. Like, I can go on.
We've been talking.
I know. So I want to end our conversation talking about like some misconceptions and some non-negotiables. And Maria, this will answer your question. She had asked about ISBN. So there's so many non-negotiables, but I feel like these are super important. Getting an ISBN is non-negotiable, especially if you want to be sold in stores. Can you confirm and elaborate?
Confirmed. Yes. Please don't try to use these free ones. It's just certain things. Again, we talk about the budget. Certain things you need to have. Do not try to get a free ISBN from a company. Don't do it, because then you can only publish your book on their platform. Use the free Amazon KDP ISBN. Now your book you can only use that ISBN on their platform. If you want to try to put your book on Ingram Spark, you got to get a whole new. You need your own ISBN, and it costs it's get them and get a pack of 10. Okay.
Yes.
It's not
Well,
very
I made the mistake buying just one. Now I'm on book 3. I'm like, oh, I should have just bought it. But now I know, like, you can buy that, and it's and again, like when you type and get an ISBN, the official site is like maybe 4 down, and there's other ones like, oh, we can get your ISBN. Go to the official. I think it's like a government, like it's Bowker or something.
Bowker, okay, or you go to myidentifiers.com, which is Bowker, and it costs $295 for 10, which brings them down to $29 each instead of paying like $125 for one.
Yes.
It makes no sense, right? No offense, but it makes no sense to get one. And you need an ISBN for each format of your book. If you have a paperback, that's 1. If you have a hardcover, that's 2. You know what I mean? So it just makes sense. So that is a non-negotiable.
Love that. Okay, so there are publishing houses, right? We talked about, and then there's like the publishing houses like Random House and all that. Then there's the distributors, like for instance, that I had to go through to get my book in Barnes and Noble. Can you kind of break down the difference and why maybe a publishing house isn't necessary, but it's great to get with a distributor?
You know, I've never worked with a distributor. I tried very briefly to get with a long time ago, and they were taking too long and not trying to give me my instant yes. And so I can't even answer. I can't even speak to a distributor. Not knowledgeably, no.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so
but I don't have one. So just in case that helps, I've never had a distributor, never worked with one, and my books have sold a crazy number of copies. So I'm gonna say you don't have to have one, but maybe if you want to get in certain places, maybe you do. I don't know. I've been pretty good with that one.
Where do you sell the majority of your books? Like, does it come from like, you know, the B2C, B2B? Like, where do you?
Amazon. I sell an incredible amount. Like Big Hair Don't Care, it's got almost 4,000 reviews. And you know, people don't leave reviews. Only like 1 out of 5,000 people leave. So I move a lot of copies on Amazon. People say bad stuff, but I'm like, I don't play with Amazon because they I get sales. But then I also do bulk orders. So I get a lot of bulk orders. And then if people book me to speak, it's going to include some books as well. So it's both B2C and B2B.
Okay, so we have 4 minutes left. My last question: can you give any final words of encouragement for those at the beginning of the process, in the middle, at the already printed books and needing some type of push? Any words of encouragement?
Words of encouragement. Yes. So how can I encourage a person that I haven't met? I'm going to say, because people have different things. So I'm going to say, 1, look at your mindset, because it's hard for me to encourage if I don't know what your issue is. So I'll briefly speak to this. I know we have a few minutes. Figure out what is it about your books and your marketing and your process that maybe you feel like you haven't had a lot of success. Is it you? Like, are you an introvert, so you're not really selling? Do you feel like you don't have enough knowledge? If you don't have enough knowledge, go get you some knowledge, right? Watch some videos, join some programs, take some courses, but like get the knowledge. But figure out what you can do that can help you feel more confident with selling your book. What can you learn? I tell everybody your book is a business. So don't just think you can publish your book and now you're about to be rich. Like, no. You need to treat this the same way you would treat any other business that you launched. And once you start looking at it in that way, you'll realize it's a business, and businesses have business investments. So when you're paying for your illustrators, that's an investment, the same way you would invest in something else if you had another type of company. And take it seriously. Like, you didn't just write this stuff just for the fun of it. You wrote it to change people's lives. So that's my best advice. And get into a community of other people who can help you out when you're feeling low or confused. That could be a 5-second answer. You could be blocked and stuck and blocked for months when someone could have answered that question for you in 2 seconds. Use your resources.
I love that. I love those. You have dropped so many nuggets. Like, I'm like wanting to get off this call so I can make sure I didn't forget anything. I appreciate you so much, your knowledge, your success. Thank you so much for chatting with our members and just giving them nuggets and words of wisdom and how to move forward if they're stuck, just beginning. I thank you so much. Thank
you. This is fun. I know we went long, so if you need to have me back, let me know.
I would love to. Listen, we're going to work on this boot camp.
There we go.
Boot camp. I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
everybody, for watching.
Bye.